Now let's get to the two most ridiculous things on this show. For all the talk about Karrion Kross, and I'm going to have a lot to say about him in a few minutes, he overshadowed, in some ways, what happened in this segment, and this deserves every bit as much attention. We had Bobby Lashley, the WWE champion, issuing an open challenge to anyone in the back. And out comes Keith Lee. At long last. We haven't seen this man since February. No update from WWE on his status. It's like he no longer existed. All we were left with for months were these cryptic tweets from Keith Lee. Oh, I wish I could tell you guys. I want to tell you guys. I was going to tell you guys, but then I was told I can't. One of these days, the story will come out. It always does. But in the meantime, people were left wondering what the fuck is going on with this guy. And if it's a medical thing, then sure, it's his business, but you had Mia Yim snapping at people on social media. It's not any of your business. People are going to be naturally inquisitive and concerned about what's going on with this guy. I mean, whoever's decision it was to not allow him to publicly talk about what it was that was wrong, clearly he wanted to say something, blame them. All that did was ratchet up the speculation about what the hell was going on here. I could ask that question about Mia Yim. What the hell happened to Mia Yim? I thought she was being called up to SmackDown. That was months ago when that report came out. She hasn't been on television since Retribution fell apart. But Keith Lee is back. Shows up, gets a pretty decent reaction. Nothing overwhelming, nothing you would expect in his home state. They were in Texas. I think the music didn't help because they didn't have enough time to establish that new music before he disappeared from TV. So I really wonder how many people even recognized it was him at first when he first walked out. But out he comes to accept Lashley's challenge. I guess this was non-title. And immediately, I knew he was fucked. The moment he came out, as happy as I was to see him, once I realized that it was Bobby Lashley one-on-one with Keith Lee, I knew that he was fucked. Because we were 24 hours removed from watching Bobby Lashley dismantle Kofi Kingston and reassert his dominance as the champion. Back on track, right? Back to his winning ways. And we also knew, because of all the rumors and the stories that had leaked, who was going to be coming out later on in the show to challenge him to a match at SummerSlam, because, again, it was all over the internet from a lot of very reliable sources, so we already knew who that person was going to be, and that person's name was not Keith Lee. Which meant that Keith Lee was not going to win this match. And why would you bring back Keith Lee, a man who can be a top star on this brand, and have him lose in his first match back? But it wasn't even the fact that he lost. You know, you can have somebody lose, but they look strong in defeat, or the announcers build them up strong in defeat. This was the opposite of strong. In every conceivable way, this was a no-win situation because you either beat Keith Lee, which is fucking stupid, or you beat Bobby Lashley, which is equally stupid, seeing as how he already got pinned on TV last week by Xavier Woods. There was no good outcome to this match before the bell even rang. I knew this. And what's worse is that it was only marginally more competitive than the Kofi match the night before. Lashley made short work of Keith Lee, 5 minutes. So much so that you had Corey Graves on commentary suggesting that the referee might need to stop the match to save Keith Lee. This man was being beaten so badly that he was wondering if this match was going to have to be stopped. In fact, if you go back and you listen to Corey Graves' commentary throughout the match, it's very telling what they were piping into his headset and telling him to say. It was a complete burial of Keith Lee. He's barely moving. He's realizing that he's simply outmatched. He's been completely ineffective. On and on and on like this for almost the entire 5 minutes. Lashley tried for the Hurt Lock. He couldn't get it on. Lashley hit a spine buster. He hit a spear. And he pinned Keith Lee in the middle of the ring. This match never should have been booked in the first place. And then came the cherry on the shit sundae for the former NXT champion. Goldberg's music hits. And he got a big reaction. I'll give him that from the Texas crowd. He got a big reaction. People haven't seen Goldberg since the beginning of the year. They weren't expecting him maybe in some cases if they didn't see, right, all the rumors and such on social media and Twitter and everything. But Keith Lee felt like a complete afterthought when this match was over. And if that sounds familiar, it's not your mind playing tricks on you. Because I want to take you back to the beginning of the year. On the Legends Night episode of Raw. Okay, this, I think it was the first Raw of 2021. It was the final Raw where we saw the Big Show and Mark Henry. Right before Goldberg walked out to confront Drew McIntyre to set up their match at the Royal Rumble. You know, the one that Goldberg lost. Guess who McIntyre had just defeated? Keith Lee. At least that was much more competitive. That was actually a really good match. But for the second time now, in 7 months, Keith Lee plays the role of setup man for Bill Goldberg, who gets up in Lashley's face. He yells, "I'm next! I'm next!" I wonder if he does that at the deli when he's waiting in line for his pastrami sandwich. Or when he pulls one of those little tickets at the DMV and they call his number. Lashley and MVP, they didn't respond. They're going to respond on Raw Monday night. I don't even know why they have to respond on Raw Monday night, because on Twitter during the week, where all challenges are answered, Lashley rejected Goldberg's challenge. He says, "No thanks, old man." Now I guess they want him to repeat himself on television this Monday. Goldberg got a big reaction. So the bootlickers will cite that as a reason. That's reason enough for him to be challenging for the title at SummerSlam. The same title that he already challenged for 7 months ago and lost. Challenging and losing to Bobby Lashley does nothing for Bobby Lashley. Not a damn thing. It's just a name from the past. They figure, hey, sell a few more tickets because we have a stadium to fill. The question that they should be asking is, why is it that they feel the need to consistently rely on those big names in these situations? It's because they do such a piss-poor job of building current names up, where they wouldn't need to have Bill Goldberg challenging for titles anymore. Yeah, John Cena is going to challenge for the Universal title on that same show, but he's also working a full schedule between now and SummerSlam. They're calling it the Summer of Cena. And it's been a very long time since we've seen John Cena challenging for a championship. There's a difference. They made Keith Lee look like a fucking geek by losing his first match back and then being cast aside for the second time this year for Bill Goldberg. Maybe they're going to turn him heel. And he's going to attack Bill Goldberg. Maybe that's the plan. You know what? If that's the plan, I'll give him credit. I'll come back on this podcast and I'll say, okay, hey, they're playing it into the story. I don't think at all that's where they're going with this. I'm trying to make sense of it, but I know that's usually a futile effort when you try to do that. But being cast aside for the second time this year for Bill Goldberg, there's a lot of symbolism in that. And it's not good. It's not good symbolism. I understand that it's a business based on attractions, but it's also the law of diminishing returns with those attractions, and you would better be building up some new ones because you won't be able to rely on these guys forever. Vince McMahon ran The Undertaker into the fucking ground until he finally said, I've had enough. My body can't take it anymore. I'm falling apart. And I still wouldn't put it past him to pick up the phone and call on Undertaker for one more match. People like Keith Lee will never feel like a star unless you give people a reason to see them as one. And on this show, his first night back on TV, which could have been the great reset for Keith Lee after 6 months away. A fresh start. He was treated like just another guy not to be taken seriously. The same man who made Brock Lesnar stand up and take notice at the Royal Rumble. The same man who got a fist bump out of respect at the Survivor Series from Roman Reigns. When they want to do something right, it's not as if they don't know how to do it. They just choose not to.